Welcome back to This Comic Cooks, the podcast where we don't just talk comics, we let them cook. Today I'm joined by my friend, designer, storyteller, MCU superfan, Disney enthusiast, and the one and only MCU. And that's EmCU. Because today I'm talking to Emmy. How are you doing today, Emmy?
Hi, I'm doing good. I'm excited to dive in. I know it's been a while since the movie came out, but I'm still kind of like excited to talk through
Yes.
everything.
Well, there's a ton of stuff to talk about, not only about the movie, but about the surrounding things of the MCU, about what's happening. Because unfortunately, I think Thunderbolts is going to go down as a box office disappointment. Critically praised, but from a box office standpoint, it's not going to go down as a success. So I wanted to talk to you about that, as well as your thoughts on the movie. So let's actually jump into your experience, because I hadn't talked to you outside of the podcast. What was your experience watching Thunderbolts?
I honestly didn't know what I was going into. Obviously, I saw the trailer. We knew some of the characters, but I didn't know what the story was going to be like. And honestly, I know it flopped, but I think it's one of the best MCU films to come out in this era we're in this I loved it. I think it was, you know what? It is the adult version of Inside Out.
Yeah.
Because it just talks so much about mental health in such a beautiful way. So, and just like found family. That's kind of what I took away from that. Found family. And I really think that it's such a different way of storytelling for Marvel versus all the rest of the films that we were used to, especially in phase 1, phase 2. It was more about like the superhero, how they become this great thing, you know, the trials, the like doubt. But this one is more about the characters going through deeper shit. Can I say shit here? Especially after, you know, Thanos and all of that. I really loved it. Of course, it lacked some things. No movie is perfect except for the Avengers. I will die on that hill. But yeah, we can get into that. We can get into but that's kind of what my thing was. I cried during the movie. I was like, oh my God, like this Yelena and that speech, you know, like, Daddy, I'm so alone.
I hope Marvel doesn't take away the wrong lesson of, oh, they don't want this. Like the audiences didn't come out for this. And it's like, no, we want this. This is like, we want you to talk about mental health. We want you to talk about these type of things. And then focus on a good story. Like that's, I think, the number one thing that I want from any of these superhero movies. Yes, we want the great action and the great, you know, CG and all this stuff, but the core, the foundation of all these things is the story. And do we care about the characters and the journey that they're going through? So I thought, like, just like you, I loved it. And I think, oh man, this year is so interesting because we started with Brave New World,
which I keep forgetting, and I'm so sad about it because when you texted me and I was like, yeah, Thunderbolts, like first movie, you're like, no. And I did go see it. I actually went and saw it, but why did it not register? And I think that is more of like I know there was a lot of post-production and reshoots and things because I was really excited, you know, for Sam to take the mantle and like do all of these things. But what happened?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, what's crazy is it's at this point in the year, it is the number 4, like, highest grossing film of the year. Thunderbolts is number 5.
Right.
And it's like, I don't think it has a cultural footprint. Like, it's not going to have like a huge impact.
I think you just hit it. It was a good movie. The CGI, little weird at certain points, but it was a good movie. I enjoyed myself, but it ended there. Whereas with Thunderbolts, it was a good movie. Again, it had some things that I would wish they would spend more time on, but it had a lasting impression on me and a lasting commentary to the point where I started making TikToks, you know, like about it and stuff. And I saw all of them. But what had happened with Captain America, did I leave it at the movie theater? I was like, this was great.
See, for me, it's going to be when we look back on Brave New World, like whatever comes next, is what happened in Brave New World gonna actually be useful in whatever, you know, the next phase of Marvel is or whatever comes next? And if it just exists in that Brave New World and we never see anything else related to that, to me, that would kind of be a failure because our expectation now, like Marvel has set us up. It's not like we just came in and said, okay, it has to be a
You just
shared
froze.
universe. They have set us up to expect it
No.
to be a shared universe, expect everything to connect. And if something just stands on its own and then we never see any ties to the rest of the MCU, it's like, well, wait a minute, what was
Are
the
you back?
point of
Am I
that?
back?
How does that piece fit into the puzzle? Let me I'll just make a
Wait, you
little
gotta
editing
say
note
that
here.
again because it
So
like you're completely frozen on my screen.
okay, can you still hear me?
I can hear you now. You froze for
Okay.
like a good minute. So,
Okay, because I was gonna say if the video freezes but you can still hear me, that's fine. But if both freeze, then
oh, okay.
yeah, then there's a problem. Okay,
I would
and
just start
that's
over just in case.
okay. What was the last? What was the last thing you heard from me?
At
Um,
the top of it, like
okay, let's see. Kind of like the impact of Brave New World. Okay,
yes.
I think the impact of Brave New World is going to be something that we look at the end of either this phase or
Mm,
the end of the next couple movies, and we say, "Hey, what did Brave New World add to this tapestry?" Because if it was just by itself, and we never see, Harrison Ford again, we never see Ed. That makes me sad. Number one, because of his age, but
mhm.
also I like Harrison Ford. I like the Red Hulk has a huge role in the comics. So I would hope they would not just bring him in and then just sideline him and we never see him again. Even if they have to recast, I'd like to see
They
Red
can't
Hulk.
recast the same character 3 times. That would be weird.
Actually, that's a good thing. I actually want to get your thoughts on as well because for the overall MCU, at what point do you think it's okay for them to either reboot like completely, like just start fresh, or just recast and then instead of being Iron Man, like put the mantle onto Ironheart, like give it to the
Right.
next generation? Do you think that's coming
Okay.
up?
Okay. Okay. So I have a lot of feelings because this instantly reminded me of the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doom,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it's kind of like I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. I don't like it right now because I haven't seen it and I always want to
Yes.
I'm like I have to trust that they know what they're doing. They cannot mess up the new Avengers. Like it just cannot happen. So I have to trust they know what they're doing. Now, side note, we have a multiverse. So technically they can recast whatever they want.
Yes.
But I feel like at some point they're going to lose their audience because if you explore the multiverse a lot, it's too much. It's almost too much. It's almost too overwhelming, you know?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
to follow this, I mean, we saw that in the past phase. We were all like, what is going on? What are you guys doing? And then with Brave New World, they kind of came back to our roots. That being said, I would like for it to be more of a young Avengers situation. I'm still waiting for
Ooh,
that.
yes, yes.
I like passing the mantle. Like we have, the new Hawkeye, right? She is now it. We have a bunch of them, really,
Yes, there's a
now.
ton that they could do.
Why are we not exploring that? Like I don't want new things. I want to finish up what they started before we
Mm,
explore. Because they leave little kernels for
that
us.
has been a
And
huge
then I'm
problem.
like, what is
There's
America up to?
Yes, there's so many, like you said, America being like she was a main character of
Mhm,
Multiverse of Madness. But then think about the post-credit scene. Like there's so many post-credit scenes where it was like, oh, this is gonna be setting up
mhm.
something.
Yeah,
Like think about the Shang-Chi one. It's like, wait a minute. We've never
right.
seen that again. So I don't like that when you're leaving all these breadcrumbs and then you never revisit it. It was like you had no plan. You didn't like this was just thrown in there for
Mhm.
like to get us talking and to get
To
us
get us
going.
excited, to get us like, little string from
Yeah. But
um, it
you never
is
gave me the reward.
right. So, I don't think that they would just keep recasting or rebooting
Mm.
because they still have so much to explore. At least not until I'm like 70 would I even consider, like a new Avengers with a whole new cast and a whole I just feel like there's so much to do that
Mm.
I'm just trusting that, they're planning, for all of these loose ends. I mean, I know we still have a Shang-Chi 2, the sequel.
Yes.
We have a Doctor Strange third movie. We also got a cliffhanger there with his wife. Well, his not yet in the MCU, but we know they are. We have a lot that still needs, like, I've been waiting for years for a Doctor Strange, you know, and it's just not happening. And they cannot keep exploring other multiversal like movies at this point unless it truly makes sense. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Doctor Doom, you know, and there's a lot of theories. I don't know what we're going to see.
Yeah, man, because it could, at this point where we're at in 2025, it could go anywhere with Doctor Doom. He could be a Tony variant, and that's why he looks like Robert Downey Jr. He could be like,
well, because if you think about it, the characters themselves, Doom, they're kind of the same, but like one is chaotic good and one is chaotic evil, you know?
Right.
They're both like billionaire eccentric, whatever. So it's like two faces of the same coin. Is that the phrase? Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of.
And he was also always supposed to be that for Reed. So it's so interesting that Iron Man became like the foundation of the MCU versus how he is in the comics. Like he's come up because of RDJ and because of the MCU.
Yeah.
And so now the comics, they are writing him like he's on that level. But before that, Reed was way above Tony as far as like an A-list character. And the Doctor Doom, Reed Richards, was like two sides of the same coin. So it'll be interesting to see, okay, how do they play? Maybe that's kind of the direction that they might go in is, okay, we don't have Tony anymore. So now we're going to introduce Pedro Pascal. We're going to put Reed in there and we'll see where that goes. That is going to be that's why I love this year, the way that they've structured it and ordered it, because I think Fantastic Four is going to be the best of these three movies.
Me too. Yes.
And
I think we were going from good to great to amazing.
Yes. So I'm very happy about that. And, you know, when we talked, I was looking at our previous conversation that we had on my other channel, Vectorverse, where we were talking about the MCU, the future of where they were going, and how do they get the excitement back? How do they get butts back in seats? And I was thinking,
Pedro Pascal.
Yes, Pedro Pascal is a huge piece of it. And what's crazy, I was looking at he just had a variety thing where he was going through his career and looking at all these different things. And I was like, this guy, they need to study in schools how he has structured his career. Cause it's like,
you know what? It's funny because I started rewatching Buffy.
Yes.
And like in season 3 or something, Pedro Pascal, like I was like just, you know, background, and I'm like, wait, what? And I turn over, I'm like, is that? I had to Google it because he's obviously so young. He had a guest, like he died in like the first, it's not a spoiler, Buffy has been over for like a decade or two. But like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, wow.
Yeah. And
it's like, come so far.
Yeah. I cannot believe like the steps that he's taken in his career and building each piece. And then to the point of where he is now and pretty much anything he does, I think we're going to love at this point. Like his selection for his career has been textbook. So if that lands, if Fantastic Four lands, to me, that's one huge thing to raising the level. The other thing, I think if they could get the X-Men right now, there's a rumor, I don't know if you saw, of the Thunderbolts director is supposed to be directing the X-Men movie. And it's been like, people are like, oh, it's confirmed. And then the next thing I turn around, the director himself has come out and said, oh, it's not confirmed yet. I don't know if that's happening. Maybe behind the scenes it's confirmed and like he just doesn't want to say it at this point. They want to hold off on that announcement. I don't know. But that, to me, if they can get the X-Men right and then Fantastic Four, those two pieces, the fandom, like everybody's going to come back to everybody's going to think of the MCU on that same level that they used to. And it's kind of disappointing to me now because you and I still can have a great discussion about the MCU. We can be optimistic, excited. But when I'm talking to my coworkers, when I'm talking to people off the street, they don't care anymore. The people that I talk to are like, oh yeah, superheroes are done. Like I've gotten superhero fatigue and I don't want to talk about superhero movies. And I really feel like it's not superhero fatigue. I feel like it's average movie fatigue. Like the bar was raised so high with Endgame. Anything lower than that, it's like, is a disappointment. But it's like, you can't, like, Endgame is like the culmination of
Right.
years. It's like of you building these blocks. So we're not going to get back to there the next year. Like we're not going to stay at that level. There's going to be a dip, and then we're going to come back up again. But for you in this stage, because last time I talked to you about this was like 2 years ago.
What?
Where do you?
Stop. Seriously?
It has been
That is
2 years,
crazy. That's crazy. I thought it was
and
last year.
it's been agonizing for me to be like, man, I want Emmy to come back. I want to talk to her about the MCU, and I just have to wait. So I'm so
We had to
excited that
wait for Thunderbolts. There's something to
yes.
talk about.
And this is a great movie. Like you said, I feel like this is a really good stepping stone. I just wish more people had gone out to see it. Where do you feel like we're at right now? We just got Thunderbolts. We're about to get Fantastic Four. We can see on the horizon, we can see Doctor
Yeah.
Doom, we can see the Avengers. My question to you is in 2025, how are you feeling about the MCU at this point?
Okay. Feel like I'm just coasting, going along for the ride. I think I watched Captain America on Disney Plus. I didn't go to the movies.
Wow. Was that the
Now
first
that I
one
remember that. Yeah.
that you haven't been to the theater?
Yes. And I think it's
Wow.
because I wasn't as excited because it
Mm,
got pushed so many times I started to forget about it.
yeah.
But then with Thunderbolts, I was like, I need to see this. Bucky. I need to see this. And then I am anxiously waiting for the Fantastic Four. Anxiously. And I think that one is going to be like super well received. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like the Barbie movie, everyone dressed up as Barbie. I have this
Yes.
vision of like why like everybody dressed up in blue, like going to see.
Mm,
Not going to happen because it's a different like audience,
right.
but I'm going to do it.
Yes. That
I'm
would
going to dress
be
up as a Fantastic Four and go to the movies.
okay. Everyone follow Emmy on TikTok. I know the TikToks are coming. I what's crazy about my TikTok algorithm, there have been nonstop people, and I don't know these people. I don't even know, I don't think I'm following them. They're posting Fantastic Four merch at stores. I'm like, whoa, is this a thing?
Yeah.
Where Target has this,
Mhm. Yep.
H&M has this, and
Yep.
they're full on like
Yep.
cosplaying. And I'm like, whoa, this is starting to make me feel good about how this is being received.
Yeah, actually there's like Box Lunch has like a whole line of specifically first steps. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put in, my I'm gonna style an outfit for the movies. So I'll post it on
Yes.
TikTok. But like, yeah, that's how excited I am for Fantastic Four
Okay.
versus how excited I was. But I think it has to do with how they dropped the cast for
Oh,
Doomsday.
okay.
I think that was such a clever marketing move. And I know some people didn't like it because of how long it was, but
Yeah.
I used to work in advertising when I lived in LA. It was so clever that they had people literally just for hours. And that kind of drove like that to your point, like that made me excited. That kind
Yes.
of thing made
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
excited to what is coming. So at the beginning of the year, I was kind of coasting, but now, especially with that marketing move and knowing that, okay, we're going to get Thunderbolts, we're going to get, all these characters in Doomsday, I have to watch everything now
Mm.
because they're all going to be there. Like the way I screamed because I know Loki is going to be in this movie. And that's probably a different podcast, but like his character growth in the Loki Disney Plus show and how his storyline came to an end, it was so beautiful and wrapped up with a bow that I'm like, please don't screw it up in Doomsday. Please do not screw it up. I thought I was like kind of upset because I'm like, oh, this looks like a good ending to his character. I don't think we're ever going to see him again. It kind of ended where it was supposed to end. And now I'm like, please do not screw it up. I want to see him again, but please do not screw it up, So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, and that's almost kind of like how I felt about RDJ leaving
Mm.
the MCU. Like the way he ended it, and then okay, you're bringing him back. Okay, he's not Tony, but he's still. We're going to associate him
Yeah.
with Tony because we see his face. We know, and if they're smart, they're going to play off of that, off of the audience's expectations of
Emotional heartstrings.
yes,
Yeah.
that is going to be fantastic. Which you could do it two ways. You could do it with the audience and with the characters in the universe. Think about Tom Holland seeing him and being like, Mr. Stark, like the connection you could have between the characters. If I don't wanna get too excited because if they don't do that, I will be hugely disappointed, but if they could, like, if they're smart, if they could do it in a way that can play off of our as the audience expectations, the characters in the universe expectations, and then give us a satisfying ending for
Mhm.
that Robert Downey Jr., whatever whatever Doom character he's playing, if they could do that, then Marvel, you will have me back again in 100% confidence.
I don't know. I have this feeling
Uh-oh.
that either it's going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to play it so well that we won't even tell the difference.
Ooh.
Like his acting is going to be so
Yeah.
on point that the only similarity is going to be his face. And it's a different face because he's older now.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. And there's makeup, there's wardrobe, like all those things really play into a character as well. So we can either like not even see the similarities at all and just he's a chameleon, he's an actor, or it could be some sort of like multiversal thing. Like it's the same person, but like what would have happened if X thing happened to him and
Yes.
he went chaotic evil instead of chaotic
Yes.
good.
Right. Which that's the fun of the multiverse. Like the whole point is what if this character took this divergent path? And so that I hope they do play with that because I can also see a little bit of like people getting fed up with the multiverse and we haven't even really tapped the full potential of it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like with Multiverse of Madness, I like Multiverse of Madness, but there's a lot of negative emotions and talk that came out of that movie, and I felt like that hurt. Even just putting the word multiverse in the title, it brought people's kind of expectations down. And I'm hearing people say, I'm sick of the multiverse. I'm tired of the multiverse. But then it's like, look at Across the Spider-Verse. If it doesn't matter if it's a topic that we've seen before, on in any number of appearances. If you do it as a good story, if you are emotionally hooking us in, that is good storytelling. It doesn't matter what the tools are in the, in if the multiverse is a thing, that's just part of the plot and part of the story elements. Let's do it right and do it in a way that ultimately serves the characters and the narrative. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. So I'm hoping they do that.
The thing about the multiverse is it can be a source of nostalgia for us.
Yes.
Because again, the Spider-Man, we saw all our generations Spider-Mans, right? We saw Tobey Maguire, we saw Andrew Garfield. And you're like, yeah, like, even the villains, showed up. And you're like, I remember, I grew up with this. Perfect. Anything past that where we're introduced new characters to this already giant franchise is too much. I feel like I understand the exhaustion of exploring the multiverse because I want to come back to ground all of these stories that are left with loose ends. I still want to see what happened to Kate Bishop. We haven't seen Kate Bishop since 2019, something like that.
Yeah, what was
like
the
really
Hawkeye
early.
show? Yeah.
And it's a great tool to bring in new stories, but I really need the MCU to like close out everything before they explore new things.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Fantastic Four because this is the third iteration of Fantastic Four we're going to get similar to Spider-Man, right? And I don't know about you, but I loved Fantastic Four when I was younger. The first one with Jessica Alba and that Fantastic Four, not the Silver Surfer, that one was weird. But the first one, I loved it. I had the DVD, I would replay it, like I loved it. And a couple years ago, when they rebooted it with like
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan was in it. He could not carry this movie.
Yeah.
Which was,
Yeah.
So that one I watched and I was like, what is happening here? So now I hope
Yes.
that this one's gonna be, and it looks already so good.
Yes.
The production value, like just from the trailers, I'm like, I am so invested already in these characters.
Yeah.
I am so invested.
They're doing what the comics do, right? Of this is the first family of Marvel. That's how they've always been marketed.
Yeah. Oh, the marketing. Don't get me started on the marketing. As a graphic designer, like The first time we saw that graphic, I think it was for Valentine's Day or something, chef's kiss. Beautiful. The logo, chef's kiss. Oh my God, the sets, mid-century. I live in a mid-century house. So I was like, this is, I cannot tell you how excited I am to go see this movie.
Yes. And that's like, that feeling is what I want to see that more from these movies, because I still have it in my core. If it's like, okay, it's a comic book movie with the Superman, same thing. Like, I want to love these movies, and I want to feel that high that I felt again with the bar that Endgame set when they when Avengers assemble, when that
we're literally all chasing that high that we felt. Like sitting in the movie theater, Avengers assemble, when he picks up the hammer, we all kind of like collectively
that feeling, if we could just get back to that. And I'm hoping.
The thing is, it took them a decade for us to get to that, high point and feel that collectively. So I think we just have to trust what they're doing. I just really want them to stop focusing on new things and kind of ground what they have, the expectations they've set.
Right.
Like still young Avengers. I don't understand why it should have been done in this phase to me.
Right.
It should have been done in this phase, because it's been so long since we saw all of the young Avengers that they kind of did drop for us.
Even in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, you see the grandson of Isaiah Bradley. He is like the Captain America figure on the Young Avengers. It's like when they showed him, I was like, Young Avengers has got to be around the corner, right? We got to be seeing
like
that
they
soon.
do this, and then we're left with like, so what happened to that? But then there's this scene right at the end of Brave New World where they're fighting, and there's like the Eternals.
Yes, right.
I'm like, when I was watching it, I'm like, wait, wasn't that from did they just casually drop it? We didn't talk about this at all. They're just kind of like, hey, remember that thing? It's here.
Yeah.
But we didn't spend any time. So I don't want that to happen with Young Avengers. And that I think is the issue, is like, this is such a it's become this big monster that they're trying to land all the loose ends has become incredibly difficult. And I do like them focusing on new things like Fantastic Four, but can we not wrap loose ends like that? It was kind of like a throwaway, like, hey, here's this thing that is popping up in this one movie for random reasons, when the movie was supposed to be about how he was handling becoming Captain America. And we got thrown an Eternals wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I feel like all of those things that you talked about. And it's funny because you can go online and look up like Marvel credit scenes that never went anywhere. And there's so many lists online. But it was, to me, now that we're looking back on it in hindsight, a ton of it was just, let's see what can stick. Let's throw it against the wall and see what sticks. There wasn't a cohesive plan, which I felt like through all the first three phases, there was a plan. We knew where it was going. That's what we need to get back to. Give us like the breadcrumbs, but pay them off. Have a plan, and not somebody else will think about that. I feel like that was how the last Star Wars trilogy was, where they were like, all right, we'll set up Rey and we'll do it. She had no parents. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute. It was Palpatine all along.
That was super weird.
Always there.
That's for your other podcast, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually just rewatched those like last week. And the same thing of like, huh?
And it's like, we really want there to be a plan, but I think a lot of times with a lot of these movies, the budgets are so huge and there's so little risk that they want to take because they want to get their investment back.
Ooh, or kind of like the Acolyte from Star Wars.
Yes, yeah.
Where at the end they're like, you know what? This isn't canon. We're cleaning our hands from it. Ignore that.
That is still a sore spot for me because I got so invested. I wanted the season 2.
We're good.
Yeah, and they're like,
we're good.
Whatever.
It's don't even consider it. It never happened.
Star Wars
that's kind of like what I feel some of these little kernels of MCU. They're like, remember that thing that we kind of teased? Never happened. Which I understand because like it's too big and there's probably things in like the, you know, the studios and all the executives and like all these things. So like, do you know like too many cooks in the kitchen?
Yes.
But like for a giant franchise that relies on studios and lots of hats and lots of people. So I understand, like I'm sympathetic to it, but all I want is for a young Avengers. I have been saying this since 2 years ago. I want to see what happened to all these characters. I want a standalone Scarlet Witch movie.
Ooh.
I want she needs her happy ending. I want my Doctor Strange 3, Shang-Chi 2, and I think that I would die happy. Because I'm seeing Thor in Doomsday, although I'm like, what are they going to do? I don't know. They have a lot of questions. See, I even forget about Captain Marvel and all that for Marvels. I can forget. It's too big. You can only care about so much.
Right. And that's like, that is in a nutshell the problem that they have to solve, because in comics, you could have, you know, however, endless amount of stories, different writers can go off. When you're just focusing on a set number of people creating these movies, you can't tell so like that large and expansive story. We want there to be, but you can't. So
you really can't. It's like you only get a set amount of time for a movie. And again, let's bring it back to the Thunderbolts. Who died in the first 10 minutes? Taskmaster.
And that upset me because did you see that coming?
You know what? Yes and no, because she had her own poster. She was in the advertising. And I don't know if it was like it was left on the cutting room floor kind of situation when they were editing the movie. And, you know, I didn't know a lot about this character other than, you know, from Black Widow. I wasn't invested in her character. I thought it ended in Black Widow, which was probably why she was like at the bottom of the chopping block. But when it happened, I was like, oh, they did that. I was like, oh, okay, I guess this character's gone. I guess, which kind of made me a little angry because I'm like, she suffered so much and then they just killed her off in her own movie in the first 10 minutes.
To me, that was a waste because number one, that character, there was a potential there, but also that could have gone to that screen time or the time you're spending on that character, setting them up or showing them.
I could have learned more about Ghost.
Yeah, we could have given other characters their spotlight or their shine.
I almost wish they would have not included her at all.
That's what I was thinking.
And just kill her in the first 10 minutes.
Yes, 100%.
Because that was a disservice to her character. And again, we didn't learn a lot other than in Black Widow, but I was like, really? She suffered her whole life and you just killed her with no other, like, it was just kind of like, just don't include her in the movie.
Right.
You know, like that was sad. And then Ghost has like, no, she's the one that shoots her, right? Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And then there's no like emotional, like, you know, anything. Like we just moved on. We like walked over the body and moved on. And I'm like, and then I know they're like misfits and like, you know, whatever, but did you not care that you just killed like this one person? I mean, Yelena kind of was like a little sad and was like, yeah, I knew her.
I thought that was strange. And the thing about the marketing, and it also kind of made me mad. And it got to the point in my mind before I was watching the movie, I was like, okay, I think they're going to do that. But no, that's too obvious that they're going to do that because if you can go back and watch the original trailers, she's in it at the beginning. And then you see later scenes. Now, obviously, we didn't know these were later scenes at the time, but the rest of the trailer, she's not in it. And I was like, why would the rest of the team be there without her? Everyone is there in these other scenes.
I just wish they would have just kept her out of the movie.
That's
instead of like giving her a cruel fate. I don't know what the emotional payoff was of this. Was it for us to be like, oh, they really are ruthless, but then give us this whole mental health thing?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to Thunderbolts.
I was listening to the director talk on podcasts because that was one of the biggest questions I had coming out of the movie was why was she included? What was the point of that? And his answer to me was kind of interesting. He goes, well, I wanted there to be some stakes so you knew that characters could die. And I was like, but that didn't, like you said, nobody cared in the movie about her. Mm-hmm. We don't care.
That wasn't the stakes for me.
Right.
That was not the stakes for me at all in the movie. Because if that is the stakes, then kill someone more well-known.
Yeah.
Not someone 100%. That's like a character I'm not
movie.
interested in emotionally. If the stakes are high, you have to like get rid of somebody that you are emotionally invested in. Hell, the stakes were high when Red Guardian saves the little girl and then she poofs 3 seconds later. I was like, oh, that was an emotional payoff. You know what I mean? That was more emotionally, yeah.
And that tells you,
By the way, Red Guardian in that movie, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I don't know
David
if
Harbour
you've
was
seen
great.
on TikTok, like, he is now a character that walks around at Disneyland.
Oh, I did see that. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I really wanna go to Disneyland just to go meet him because he is just I don't know who they hired, but he is just exactly that intense. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. I love that they're incorporating, as each movie comes out,
Yeah.
Disney will have the characters at the parks. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like I wish they had given us a little bit more to care about with every character because the whole point of having like a team movie is you're getting all of these guys in one movie. And
Right.
so I want each of them to have their shine and their spotlight. And with Thunderbolts, I felt like a lot of it was heavy on Yelena, which that was, as we talked in earlier,
Core
Florence Pugh,
character.
great performance,
Mhm.
and David Harbour, great as Red Guardian. Bucky, I felt like got a short shift in the movie. Like
But listen, while he did, we got his own theme song, his own score for the first time. Don't tell me you didn't get goosebumps in that motorcycle scene because like I was like, wait, I was so excited. I almost jumped out of my seat. Just like
that was
the way it was done, so emotionally driven, and like he really deserves his own, he's another character that suffered, like
right.
Taskmaster, you know.
Well, they had like there's a line in the movie where they're like, we've all suffered, we've all had these things, and that's what made this team's unique and special is that we hadn't seen that before where everyone's trauma comes together and
Mhm.
the Sentry actually is perfect as the Sentry slash Void is perfect for the theme of mental health and mental
Yeah.
wellness because at the end of the day it wasn't about just punching and you saw the Sentry took everybody out easily physically. It was about getting to him mentally and getting to him emotionally and saying you're okay, like
Yeah.
this giving you a hug is how you resolve the issue and how
Which,
you resolve the problem.
if you think about the original Avengers cast, they wouldn't do that. They
Yeah,
wouldn't come together and hug
right,
Bucky or
right.
hug, because if you think about it, like this was an outsider, a stranger to this like team. I think I've seen this online. Our original Avengers were coworkers. They cared about each other, but they were coworkers. The Thunderbolts, they're family. They're found family.
Yeah,
They care on a deeper level
yeah,
because they all have been through a similar situation where they need other people and they came together as a family. And I think that really, I read it somewhere, or there was a TikTok or something, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes
yeah,
a lot of sense.
100%.
Because Wanda needed something like that, like the Sentry. If
Yes,
Wanda had had this found family rally around her, she wouldn't have gone crazy in Multiverse of Madness. Like the parallels of both. Like she had no emotional support. This guy did. I think that's similar.
yes,
You know?
100%. Like you, I will be very disappointed if they do not give Wanda
Her
a
own
bow.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, like if you leave it at where they left it in Multiverse of Madness,
Well, you know what they
I
say, no body, no death.
that's true. I swear I saw something. I watch a lot of like fan theory videos online, and they were saying something about she's back because of this. Like they pointed to some clue that she was back. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I subscribe to that theory because I want to see her back.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen,
Well,
I
there was
want to
a
see
tiny
that.
little like wink wink nudge nudge in Agatha all along.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Where they ask her, like, "Is she really dead?" And she's like, "Yeah," or "Is she?" Or like
yeah.
something
Right,
like that, which,
right,
by
right.
the way, Katherine Hahn, I love her.
Actually, before we end this episode, I did want to ask you, speaking of Agatha and yeah, Catherine Hahn was great. The Disney Plus of it all,
Mhm.
looking back on it now, we're like 5 years post Disney Plus. Do you feel like it was a net positive to have these shows? Obviously, Loki, one of your favorites. But if in a world where we never had Disney Plus, we just stuck to the movies, do you think we would have been better off? Or do you like where we've gotten these shows?
No, I really like the shows because Loki wouldn't have had that character growth. Wanda, it gave us like another depth to her. Now there are hit and miss, just kind of like in the movies. There's a lot of hit and miss. And the marketing for some of these is also kind of weird. Like the Agatha one, marketing all over the place. The one that just came out,
Ironheart.
I have heard nothing until the banner came up on Disney Plus. But for Agatha, everywhere. The marketing, they like, there was even like a bunch of TikToks of like Katherine Hahn at Disneyland, and she had her own ears, her own mini ears with the Agatha stuff. And I'm like, what are we doing over here?
It does feel like Disney has certain confidence in some projects rather than others. Look at Echo, where they kind of just dumped Echo out.
Yeah.
And
I actually have still not seen it.
It's worth it for, well, you know who appears in it, right? I don't want to spoil it for you.
You can spoil it.
Okay, Daredevil shows up.
Right.
To me, that made it worth it to watch that part. Everything else was skippable. And I love Echo as a character, so that kind of disappointed me. But them just dropping it all was like, why? Why would you do that? Just have confidence in it, release it weekly, let people build up to it. And did you watch any of Ironheart? They put 3 episodes out this week.
I know. I'm going to watch it this weekend.
Okay. I want to get your take on it. Text me as soon as you watch it because I really liked it. That's what I'll say about that is I really liked it, and I don't get the dumping 3 episodes this week and then 3 episodes next week and it's over.
I know for Loki, the wait was awful. Like every time the credits would come up, I'd be like, no, like, so I don't know. I haven't watched it, so I'll let you know.
Yes. Okay. So Disney Plus, to me, I think a lot of the struggles that the MCU has had of, as we talked about, not having a clear vision of where they're going. The writer's strike, the actor's strike, COVID, and then Disney Plus, I think them talking about, oh, we want to get as much out as possible. Everything is content. But, and then now they're trying to pull back. Oh, well, we want quality instead of content. That's kind of been the messaging behind the new stuff. And Daredevil Born Again, they kind of like, oh, we need to retool this and change the focus of it. Although, did you watch all of the first season of Born Again? It came out.
If I did, I forgot.
February. Okay. Okay. It feels like they didn't really like. It feel like when I watch it, I'm like, this seems like the way that you were already going. I don't feel the change here.
Yeah, from the OG.
Yeah, and it was like you said, we filmed a bunch and then we stopped it and now we refilmed, we reshot all this stuff. And from what I saw, the stuff that they had originally filmed, it was going to be like a procedural, like law show. And
oh my God, you're giving me flashbacks to She-Hulk.
Yes. Okay. And that also was very divisive amongst fans. And it was like, that felt like they had a vision and then they went off and then they were doing other things. And then there wasn't from start to finish, like, here's the through point. Here's the arc that She-Hulk goes through. And then at the end, it was like, all right, here's Hulk's son. It was like, what? Wait a minute.
Right. Wait, is Mark Ruffalo gonna be in Doomsday?
Oh, so I don't remember seeing his chair. But we still have more chairs to go. They said there's still more people announced.
What?
He is going to appear in the new Spider-Man movie. I don't know if you saw that. Okay. Hulk is going to be a character as well as Punisher. They are both going to appear in the new
Spider-Man I understand movie. The overwhelm and the burnout of people saying like, I can't, because it is kind of like, wait, what? Yeah. That's why you kind of miss some, that's why I didn't see Echo, because I'm like, I was watching, it is a lot. And I have other interests too,
Yeah.
Like there's Star Wars, there's like my Disney stuff, like it is a lot. It's very overwhelmed. So right now I'm just really excited for Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Extremely excited. I think it's going to be a really, really fun movie.
Yes. And I feel like Fantastic Four is going to be like what Andor was to Star Wars, where it's like you can give that to people who are not Star Wars fans and say, hey, look, this is a good TV show. I feel like we're going to be able to do that. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie yet, but just from what I've seen, we're going to be able to say, hey, mom and dad, or hey, whoever, Fantastic Four, this is just a fun action movie. You don't have to know all the 10, 15 years of MCU.
Like with Thunderbolts, you needed background. You needed to Brave New World. You needed background.
I was going to say, that was the thing about Brave New World.
Fantastic Four, you don't.
Yeah. So not having homework and not having a lot of that is I think going to help Fantastic Four.
Yeah, you can just like go and have fun. That's all you need to.
Yes. Actually, speaking of fun and tying it back to Thunderbolts, what did you think about there was two post-credit scenes. One was a funny one, and then one was kind of setting up.
Yeah, it's a scene from Doomsday.
What did you think about that?
Mom and dad are fighting. And yeah, I was like, no, that friendship means so much. Like, it just means so much. And knowing that they're like on opposite, I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be a little scene that we're going to get a little flushed out in Doomsday. But I was like, oh no,
Yeah, like
they're such good
man.
friends.
And here's the other thing about that is, okay, so what is the status of the Avengers? Because at the end of Brave New World, Sam is supposed to be going off and making his Avengers team, and then the Thunderbolts are the new Avengers with the Z. They're the public facing Avengers. So how is we're going to have to spend time on that plot of, okay, those two teams, who are the real Avengers?
Right.
And then we're going to have to set up the Fantastic Four. Like, there's going to be a ton of stuff that they're going to have to deal with in Doomsday.
Right.
RDJ, like introducing him. So I don't know where that leads to, but I'm
But we still
interested to
have a lot
see.
of time.
I was hoping for more time. Between Fantastic Four and Doomsday, there's only Spider-Man. That's the only movie in between those two. And the series, there's a Wakanda series. I don't think that's going to tie in too much. There's animated Wakanda series. There's the Wonder Man series, which I don't think. Here's another new character, Emmy. We got to introduce another one. Put another one into the mix. The Visions, man. When's the Visions show? I think that's after Spider-Man.
I'm done. See, I get it. I get it. I was like, oh my God. You know what? I'm just going to, whatever comes.
Yes. Well, Marvel has an uphill battle getting both the longtime fans and the casual fans to come back. But I
and
think
new fans. I feel like that's the thing that they're going to do. They
thing.
obviously are trying to get more of the younger generations and stuff that,
Because you have to. You can't just, it's like with comics, you can't just have 50-year-old, 60-year-old readers. You have to have new readers coming in, or you die, or your medium dies. So I feel like we are, as we talked about, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. I think we have good steps in the right direction on all of these. And when First Steps comes out, Emmy, I want you to come back and talk with me about the Fantastic Four, because I'm excited, you're excited, and I hope that our friends watching are excited. Emmy, you have been doing a fantastic job on social media. Everything that you're doing with your rebrand and your new direction, I'm loving. I want everyone to check out. All of your links are going to be in the show notes. But how are you feeling moving forward with your new direction right now?
I'm just having fun, really. Like, I'm not really doing anything seriously right now. I'm just having fun, just sharing little bits of magic, little bits of MCU, little bits of Disney.
Yes.
And just kind of like living.
Yes. Well, I love to see your journey. And everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed Emmy, and how could you not? Because no one MCUs harder than Emmy. Please drop a review, share it with a fellow Marvel fan or even a Disney fan. Just whisper sweet nothings about Zemo into the algorithm. Remember, there are no bad characters, only bad writers. So keep reading, keep watching, and keep letting those comics cook.